And so this is how it looks. Sevilla, once again, it's their competition. It always feels with the Europa League. They are through to the Europa League Final for the second time in 4 years. It's their 5th appearance in the last 10 years. And in that final in Budapest on May 31st, they will be taking on Roma, who saw out their tie against Leverkusen. What would you expect? The second European final for Jose Mourinho and Roma in as many years. What a crazy game this was, Gab, and the way it all played out. But in the end, should we have been so surprised that it's Sevilla going through?
No, I mean, I thought they were the better team in the first leg. Obviously Juve just getting that equalizer in like the 7th minute of injury time. And this time around as well, I thought they outplayed Juve for stretches. That said, I love seeing somebody getting sent off for a second yellow for time wasting. I think it's ridiculous. There's no point having the rule in the books because it's something you never, ever, ever see. If you're time wasting, you're at risk for a yellow, whether you have a yellow card already or not. Having a yellow should not be a license to continue time wasting forever.
What a big heart you've got.
Hang on, I was so excited. I forgot to introduce both of them. We have Gab Marcotti and Stewart Robson with us. But Stevie, go on, your response to that.
I'm absolutely shocked that Gab said that.
Why?
Why should you be... I mean, come on, Gab, you can't mean that. Listen, the referee...
I know, I do.
The referee's got to be the coolest man in the park.
How often do you see this happen?
He's got to understand. Oh, come on. All you got to do is add on extra time, have a word with the guy. Say, look, I'm sticking on an extra minute, and if you do it again, then I will give you another yellow. That, in my opinion, that's the way to handle it. Not just to turn around and give him a yellow card. Come on, and then that's him done. Because if you're a referee and you're going to have somebody sent off the field in such an important game, then you better deserve it. And you can't tell me that him trying to waste a little bit of time on a throw-in, he deserves to get sent off and miss the final. Come on.
Go on, Gab, quickly. You can respond to Stevie.
Look, we don't know if how many times he warned them about it, but I do think, because it's something you never see, I do think players take it as license to do it as they please once they're on a yellow. That says, I like the idea of just adding time on at the end, and I think we saw it in the World Cup. I think that's something that would help. But we wouldn't have this problem if we stopped the clock and we went down that route.
Robbo, you can obviously wade in on this discussion between these two, but also the fact that Sevilla, with the season that they've had, are through to the Europa League final.
Well, Mendilibar has done brilliantly since he's taken over. We saw Sevilla early part of the season, and they had Lopetegui as the first manager. Sampaoli couldn't get them going. They looked an absolute shambles. The crowd were getting onto the team. They were changing the team week in, week out. And since he's been in charge, I think they've only lost one league game. And they've been excellent in the Europa League. And today, I totally agree with Gab on who should have won. Sevilla were the better team. They had better players on the field. They played better football. They played with a greater intensity. They got more crosses into the box. And they thoroughly deserved to win the game. So I'm pleased for them.
Who do you side with on the argument of that second yellow card, though, for Acuna, Robbo?
A bit of both, really. You don't want players time wasting, but also I would say that I fully agree. Why waste your time booking a player? Just add more time on, because I don't actually think it works for teams when they waste time, because you've got to keep your concentration going for longer. There was 8 minutes, I think, added on or 4 minutes for the extra time. Then that was probably 5 or 6 by the time they got to the end of it. Sometimes by trying to waste time, it actually penalises your team, because you've got to concentrate for longer. You've got tired legs, tired minds. I don't think it ever works trying to time waste. So I would agree with both to a certain degree. You don't want time wasting, but I think it was... I'm not sure he was wasting that much time to get a yellow card.
How bad is this for Juve, Gab?
I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, given what they've been through, given the fact that, at least for now, they're back up into second place in Serie A, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's another really poor performance after what was certainly a better performance at the weekend. But this is Max Allegri's Juve. Everything is about defending, and it's about individuals bailing you out and so on. And you can go and praise their character for fighting till the very end, but it doesn't change the fact that this team is less than the sum of its parts. And it's a big part of the reason why I think most people will view this as a very disappointing season for Juventus, even if they do end up finishing second and they do end up avoiding the points penalty.
Let's just talk a bit more about Sevilla if we can then, Rob. Obviously, you've been covering La Liga with ESPN Plus this season. 10th in La Liga, and yet they've said goodbye to Manchester United, now goodbye to Juventus. How have they done this?
Change of manager. I think he's simplified things. They've got to get a better game plan. Remember at the start of the season, after last year, I thought they'd been a good side for the last 2 or 3 years. Then they lost all their defenders, Koundé being one of them. All their best defenders went. Lopetegui didn't get them going. Sampaoli came in and tried to change things, and the players obviously didn't respond to him, so he went as well. They played some pretty poor football. Again, they changed their team week in, week out. Now they've got a more settled side. Now they play a more simple game plan. And you have to give credit to the coach. He's calm on the side. The players are calm. They've got the crowd right behind them again. And I think they've done a fantastic job. You talked about 10th. That's brilliant for them, considering where they were, only about 7, 8 weeks ago. They could have easily been relegated. Now they're in 10th position. They're in the final of the Europa League. What a great job he's done.
You know, it amazes me how I think too many people, when they think about coaching, they don't understand that half the battle is about putting your team together, getting your players to play for each other and getting them as a solid unit. You know, we keep talking about tactics and who does this and Pep does that. Sam Allardyce does this. But you know what? What this guy's done at Sevilla is he's got the group together. Because, as Gab was saying, that Juventus are not the sum of the parts, this team, how many of these players are you pulling out? How many of these players really are going to go and move somewhere at the end of the season? None of them. But you know what? As a unit, as a team, being together, I mean, you saw the look on their faces, the togetherness at the end. That's just team spirit. You don't always need the best players, and you don't always need the best tactics and all that nonsense. If you've just got a unit that plays for each other, works for each other, backs each other up, never gives up, all of those great things that are just inside you, if you can pull that together, you get a Sevilla.
And Sevilla, we know what they are, a different beast when it comes to the Europa League, but we also know what Jose Mourinho is when it comes to cup competition and finals as well. 0-0 it finished between Bayer Leverkusen and Roma, and just take a look at this, 23-1 on shots. Leverkusen trying to find a way through, could not do it, finishing 0-0 on the night, 1-0 on aggregate. A very stubborn Roma side. Gab, Mourinho has done it again. How does he do it?
I think a lot of what Steve said about Sevilla, about team spirit, about belief, about getting the fans behind you, that is a huge part of it. This Roma side, you know, they didn't play particularly pretty football when everybody was fit. Now that they have a cajillion injuries and absentees and whatever, and he's kind of holding the team together with masking tape, are they going to play good football now? No. But it's okay because he transmits to them the passion, the belief. They go and they defend, and you know, if you're a well-drilled defensive team and you sit deep, it's hard to score against you. And all of Bayer Leverkusen's pretty football in the end didn't enable a breakthrough. Would it work in a league? I don't think so, which probably explains why Roma are where they are in Serie A. But you know, in a two-legged cup tie, sure, it can work. And you know, Mourinho does it again. It's a tremendous achievement when you think about it. And I don't know, maybe next year he can make plans for a Champions League final at Wembley.
Well, that's the way it's going right now. When you take a look at the odds for the final in Budapest on May 31st, pretty much even Steven, Sevilla against Roma. What a lovely Europa League final that is set to be. What are your thoughts on how this is going to play out and who's going to win it, Gab? Who are you going for?
I think a lot's going to depend on how many of the injured guys are back for Roma. If you have Dybala in the team, this is a very different side. Obviously, Sevilla have been a lot better under Mendilibar. They can hurt you in different ways, and of course they have the pedigree. And by the way, at this point, we can say it is that Sevilla crest. It's not Unai Emery or whoever they have in charge coaching them that wins the Europa League. It's the actual crest that does it. But I think maybe Roma have a slight advantage because of Mourinho and if Dybala's fit. But otherwise, for me, it's a coin toss.
Yeah, Sevilla are very magical, it seems, when it comes to this competition. We'll see what happens in this final. Gab, Robbo and Stevie are answering your questions on the latest edition of Extra Time, which you can always keep up to date with by subscribing to our YouTube channel.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.